The ruler hit Luna's prosthetic leg with a sharp crack. "Does this thing even feel anything?" Mrs. Pierce asked, the classroom flicking the metal again. Laughter erupted. Luna stood frozen at the front of the room, tears streaming down her face, her small body trembling. Through the half-open door, Marcus Hayes watched his 9-year-old daughter being humiliated. His hands shook, his vision tunneled. Titan pressed against his leg, a low growl building in the dog's chest. The German Shepherd sensed what Marcus already knew. Something inside him had just snapped completely. Before we continue, tell us what city you're watching from in the comments below. Subscribe now and stay until the end. This story will change how you see everything. Marcus Hayes arrived at Millbrook Elementary 15 minutes early. Old habits. 16 years in the Rangers had wired him that way. Never late. Always prepared. Eyes scanning for threats even in a school parking lot. His therapist said the hypervigilance would fade eventually. His therapist was wrong. Titan walked beside him. The German Shepherd's presence, a steady weight against his leg. The dog had been with him through 2 tours in Afghanistan, through the IED that shattered his knee, through the 18 months of surgeries and rehabilitation. And through the worst night of his life, the night Sarah died. 2 years ago. A drunk driver. A highway in the rain. Marcus had crawled from the wreckage with blood in his eyes, found his wife pinned behind the steering wheel, held her hand while she bled out. Their daughter Luna screamed in the back seat, her right leg crushed beneath twisted metal. Sarah's last words were about Luna. "Take care of our baby," she'd whispered. "Promise me." He'd promised. And now walking through the halls of Millbrook Elementary, Marcus told himself he was keeping that promise. Good schools, safe community. The kind of place where a wounded veteran and his wounded daughter could heal together. He was 15 minutes early because Luna's physical therapist had called to reschedule. Instead of picking her up at the usual time, Marcus decided to surprise her. Maybe take her for ice cream. Maybe see her smile, really smile the way she used to before the accident took her mother and her leg in the same terrible night. He found classroom 3B easily. The door was half open. And then Marcus heard the laughter. Not children playing. Something sharper. Meaner. The kind of laughter that has a target. He stopped walking. Titan stopped with him. Through the gap in the door, Marcus saw his daughter. Luna stood at the front of the classroom, her small body rigid with fear. Her dress had been pulled up to expose her prosthetic leg. The leg she'd finally learned to trust, the leg she'd spent 18 months learning to walk on. Someone had done that. Someone had deliberately exposed her, and standing beside her was Mrs. Sharon Pierce, the teacher everyone praised. The woman who'd smiled so warmly at parent-teacher night, the pillar of the community who taught Sunday school and organized the town's Christmas pageant. She was holding a ruler. "Class." Mrs. Pierce said, her voice carrying that particular cruelty that pretends to be patience. "Can anyone tell Luna why she keeps slowing us down? Why we have to wait for her during fire drills? Why she gets special treatment that the rest of you don't?" A boy in the front row raised his hand. Marcus recognized him. Dylan Hartley. His family's name was on the school's donor wall. "Because she's broken," Dylan said. "I prefer differently abled." Mrs. Pierce smiled. "But yes, Dylan, that's exactly right. Luna is different, and sometimes different means difficult." Marcus felt his chest tighten. Luna's chin was trembling. Her small hands gripped her crutches so hard her knuckles had turned white. She was trying so hard not to cry that her whole body shook. But she was crying anyway. Silent tears streamed down her face while 20 children watched. "Mrs. Pierce," Luna whispered. "Can I please sit down now? Did I say you could sit down? My leg hurts. Your leg." Mrs. Pierce laughed. "You mean that metal thing, does it even feel anything?" She turned to the class. "What do you think, children, can Luna's robot leg feel pain?" More laughter. Some children looked uncomfortable staring at their desks, but others, including Dylan, laughed loud and long. And then Mrs. Pierce did something that made Marcus's vision narrow to a single point. She reached down and flicked Luna's prosthetic with her ruler. A sharp crack echoed through the room. "Interesting," Mrs. Pierce said. "No reaction. Let's try again." Another flick, harder this time. Luna flinched, not from pain, but from humiliation, from the sound, from the laughter of her classmates. "Please stop," Luna begged. "Please." "Don't whine. Whining is for babies." Mrs. Pierce's voice turned sharp. "Are you a baby, Luna? Is that why you can't keep up with normal children?" Titan growled. The sound was low, barely audible, but Marcus felt it vibrate through the dog's body. The German shepherd's ears were flat, his muscles coiled. He understood. Animals always understand cruelty better than humans. Marcus's hand found the door handle. He didn't push it open. Not yet. A soldier learns to observe before acting. A father learns when it's time to stop watching and start protecting. He needed to see everything. Needed to understand exactly what his daughter had been enduring. "Luna," Mrs. Pierce continued, "I asked you a question yesterday about the Revolutionary War. Do you remember what happened?" Luna nodded miserably. "Tell the class." I got it wrong." "You got it wrong. And what did I say when you got it wrong?" Luna's voice was barely a whisper. "That maybe my brain is as broken as my leg." The classroom went quiet. Even the children who had been laughing seemed uncomfortable now. But Mrs. Pierce smiled. "That's right. And do you think your brain has gotten better since yesterday?" I studied. Let's find out." Mrs. Pierce walked to the whiteboard where a math problem was written. "Solve this. Out loud. In front of everyone." Luna looked at the problem. Her face crumpled. I don't know how." "You don't know. After I spent all week teaching this." Mrs. Pierce's voice rose. "Class, what happens when Luna doesn't know something?" Dylan's hand shot up. "She slows everyone down." "That's right." Mrs. Pierce nodded approvingly. "She slows everyone down. Because of her special needs. Because we have to wait for her. Because she's broken." Dylan finished. Luna burst into tears. Real tears. Heaving sobs that shook her small body while she stood exposed at the front of the room, her prosthetic leg visible, her classmates watching her teacher smiling. "Oh, stop it!" Mrs. Pierce snapped. "Crying won't help you. Crying is weakness. Is that what you want everyone to see? How weak you are?" Marcus pushed the door open. The soft click of the handle sounded louder than a gunshot in the sudden silence. Every laugh died mid-breath. Every head turned at once. Mrs. Pierce's ruler froze in mid-air. Marcus stepped inside with Titan at his side. He didn't run, didn't shout, didn't look angry in the way people expect anger to look. He walked straight to his daughter, knelt down despite the pain in his reconstructed knee, and gently wiped her tears with his thumb. "Hey, baby girl," he said softly. "Daddy's here. You did nothing wrong." Luna collapsed into his arms. The sound she made, the relief, the shame, the desperate need nearly broke Marcus completely. She clung to his jacket, her small fingers digging into the leather, and sobbed against his chest. Titan lowered himself beside her, pressing his warm body against her trembling form, a living shield of comfort and protection. Only then did Marcus stand. Only then did he face Mrs. Pierce. "I want you to repeat exactly what you just said to my daughter." His voice was level, controlled. The voice of a man who had learned that true authority doesn't need to shout. Mrs. Pierce's face cycled through surprise, indignation, and finally a mask of professional concern. "Mr. Hayes, I didn't ask what you expected. I asked you to repeat what you said. I was simply encouraging Luna to participate more actively. You called her broken. You mocked her prosthetic leg. You invited children to laugh at her disability." Marcus's eyes never left hers. "I heard every word. I watched through that door for 5 minutes." Mrs. Pierce's smile flickered. "Mr. Hayes, perhaps we should discuss this in private." "No." The word fell like a hammer. "You humiliated her in public," Marcus said. "You'll account for it in public." He turned to the classroom. 20 children stared at him with wide eyes. Some looked scared. Some looked confused. And some, he noted which ones looked relieved. "How many of you," Marcus asked gently, "have seen Mrs. Pierce treat Luna like this before?" Silence. It's okay. Telling the truth isn't tattling. It's courage. A small girl in the back row slowly raised her hand. Her name was Sophie, Marcus remembered. Luna had mentioned her once, one of the only kids who was sometimes nice to her. "She does it every day," Sophie whispered. "Every single day." Another hand went up, then another. Mrs. Pierce's face went white. "That's enough," she snapped. "Mr. Hayes, you need to leave. You're disrupting my classroom." "Your classroom." Marcus turned back to her. "The classroom where you've been systematically abusing a disabled child. The classroom where you taught 20 children that cruelty is acceptable as long as the target is different. I have never, you flicked her leg with a ruler." Marcus's voice hardened. Her prosthetic leg. The leg she lost in the accident that killed her mother. And you asked if the thing could feel anything. The classroom was absolutely silent. Mrs. Pierce's mouth opened and closed. I was making a point about what? About how children with disabilities are less human, about how it's acceptable to mock them in front of their peers." Marcus stepped closer. "I spent 16 years serving my country. I watched men die protecting people they'd never met. And I come home to find a woman who's supposed to nurture children instead using them as targets for her cruelty. Mr. Hayes, my daughter lost her leg saving my life." Marcus's voice cracked. "Did you know that when the drunk driver hit us, when the car flipped, Luna was in the back seat? The impact crushed her leg against the door. And you know what she did? She didn't cry for herself. She cried for her mother. She watched her mother die. And the first thing she asked when she woke up in the hospital wasn't about her leg. It was about her mom." Tears were streaming down Luna's face again. But this time, she was standing straighter, listening. "She spent 18 months learning to walk again," Marcus continued. 18 months of physical therapy, of pain, of frustration. She fell down 1,000 times, and every single time she got back up. Because she's the strongest person I've ever known, stronger than me, stronger than anyone in this room." He looked at Mrs. Pierce with something beyond anger, something colder. "And you called her broken." Mrs. Pierce's face had gone from white to red. Her professional mask had slipped, revealing something ugly underneath. "Mr. Hayes, I'm a respected educator. I have been teaching for 18 years. You cannot come into my classroom and—" "I just did. I'll have you removed. I'll call security." "Call them. Call the principal. Call the superintendent." Marcus pulled out his phone. "Because I'm calling the local news, and then I'm calling the state education board, and then I'm calling every parent whose child has sat in this classroom while you taught them that cruelty is acceptable." The door opened behind them. A woman stood in the doorway, mid-50s, polished suit, perfect hair. Her face wore the expression of someone assessing damage and calculating how to contain it. "Mr. Hayes?" Her voice was smooth, practiced. "I'm Victoria Blackwell, the principal. Perhaps we can discuss this situation in my office." "There's nothing to discuss. I witnessed your teacher abusing my daughter." "I understand you're upset." "I'm not upset. Upset is when someone cuts you off in traffic. Upset is when your coffee order is wrong." Marcus's voice was ice. "What I am, Mrs. Blackwell, is a father who just watched a teacher flick his daughter's prosthetic leg with a ruler and ask the class if the thing could feel anything." Blackwell's expression didn't change. "That's a very serious accusation." "It's not an accusation. It's a fact. And I have 19 witnesses." He gestured to the children. "Ask them." "Children often misunderstand." "They don't misunderstand cruelty. They recognize it. They always recognize it." Sophie's hand was still raised. "Mrs. Blackwell, it's true. Mrs. Pierce is mean to Luna every day. She makes fun of her leg. She calls her broken. She makes us laugh at her." Another child spoke up, a boy Marcus didn't recognize. "She told Luna that her mom probably died because she didn't want a broken daughter." The room went absolutely still. Marcus turned to Luna. His daughter's face was white, her eyes hollow. "Is that true?" he whispered. "Did she say that to you?" Luna nodded, her chin trembling. "When, last week, when I fell during recess. My leg, the prosthetic came loose and I fell, and Mrs. Pierce said—" Luna's voice broke. "She said Mommy probably drove into that car on purpose, because she didn't want to take care of a broken little girl." The sound that escaped Marcus's throat was barely human. Titan was on his feet, instantly pressing against his handler, trying to ground him. The dog knew the signs of a flashback. The dog knew what happened when the memories got too close. But this wasn't a flashback. This was something worse. This was Marcus Hayes understanding for the first time that the cruelty hadn't been happening for a day or a week. It had been happening for months. Every day. While Luna came home and said nothing because she didn't want to worry him, because she knew he was struggling, because she was protecting him. His 9-year-old daughter had been protecting him. "Luna," his voice was hoarse. "Why didn't you tell me? I didn't want to make you sad, Daddy." Luna's eyes were swimming with tears. "You were already so sad after Mommy died, and Mrs. Pierce said, she said if I told anyone she would make sure I got sent to a special school, away from you." Marcus closed his eyes. He thought about the nights Luna had woken up crying, the days she'd come home quiet and withdrawn, the times she'd asked if she was too much trouble, if she was too hard to take care of, if he ever wished things were different. He'd thought it was grief. He'd thought it was the accident. He'd thought it was the normal struggles of a child learning to live with a disability. He hadn't known she was being tortured every single day by someone who was supposed to protect her. He hadn't known. "Mr. Hayes," Blackwell's voice cut through the moment. "I understand this is difficult, but Mrs. Pierce is a valued member of our staff, an 18-year veteran. Perhaps we should investigate before jumping to investigate." Marcus turned on her. "You want to investigate, fine. Let's start with how many complaints have been filed against Mrs. Pierce. Let's look at how many children have transferred out of her class mid-year. Let's examine why the Hartley family's son, Dylan, the boy who called my daughter broken, has somehow passed every grade despite being held back twice before. Blackwell's face tightened. I don't appreciate what you're implying. I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts. Marcus pulled up his phone. And in about 30 seconds, I'm going to start recording everything. So if you have any more statements to make about how we should investigate before jumping to conclusions, I'd suggest you make them on camera. The silence that followed was absolute. Mrs. Pierce had backed into the corner of the classroom, her face a mask of fear and fury. Blackwell stood in the doorway, calculating. The children watched with wide eyes. And Luna stood beside her father, her small hand finding his, holding on, like he was the only solid thing in a world that had just revealed itself to be far more hostile than she'd ever imagined. Marcus looked down at his daughter. We're leaving, he said. And we're not coming back until this school is a place where you're safe. Daddy, Luna whispered. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. Don't. He knelt down, meeting her eyes. Don't ever apologize for protecting yourself. Don't ever apologize for being strong enough to survive something that would have broken most adults. He pulled her into a hug. I'm the one who should be sorry. I should have known. I should have seen it. You were hurting too. That's not an excuse. I know. Luna's small hand touched his face. But it's the truth. We were both hurting, and now we can hurt together. Out of the mouths of children, Marcus stood lifting Luna easily, setting her on his hip despite the protest from his bad knee. Titan pressed close his eyes, never leaving Mrs. Pierce a silent warning that the dog was watching. Mr. Hayes. Blackwell blocked the doorway. I really must insist that we handle this internally. There's no need to involve outside. Move. One word. The same voice Marcus had used in combat, the voice that commanded men through firefights and ambushes. Blackwell moved. Marcus walked out of the classroom, out of the hallway, out of the building that had been slowly destroying his daughter for months. He walked past parents arriving for pickup, past teachers who stared past the secretary who was already on the phone with someone. He walked until he reached his truck. Then he set Luna down, opened the door, and helped her inside. Titan jumped in after her, settling his bulk across her lap, like a furry weighted blanket. Marcus stood outside the truck for a moment, hands shaking, breath coming hard. He'd faced insurgents in Kandahar. He'd been ambushed, shot at, blown up. He'd carried dying men through enemy fire and held their hands as they passed. None of it, nothing in his entire life, had been as hard as the last 20 minutes. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Mr. Hayes, this is Grace Chen. I'm a substitute teacher at Millbrook Elementary. I saw what happened today. I have information about Mrs. Pierce that you need to know. Please call me. Marcus stared at the message. Then he got in the truck, started the engine, and pulled out of the parking lot. Behind him, through the rearview mirror, he could see Victoria Blackwell standing on the school steps, phone pressed to her ear, face carved from stone. She was calling someone. Marcus didn't know who, but he knew with the certainty of a soldier who has learned to read enemy movements that the battle had just begun. And he knew something else, too. He wasn't going to lose. Not this time. Not when his daughter was the one who needed protecting. Grace Chen was waiting at the coffee shop on Main Street. Marcus spotted her immediately young, early 30s nervous energy radiating from every movement. She kept glancing at the door, then at her phone, then at the door again. When she saw him walk in with Luna and Titan, she stood up so fast she knocked over her water glass. Mr. Hayes, thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would. You said you have information about Mrs. Pierce. I do, but... Grace looked at Luna, hesitating. Maybe the little girl shouldn't— No. Marcus's voice was firm. My daughter has been lied to enough. She's been told to keep secrets. She stays. Luna gripped his hand tighter. Titan positioned himself at her side. Grace nodded slowly, then sat down. Marcus took the seat across from her, pulling Luna onto his lap. How long have you been at Millbrook Elementary? Marcus asked. 6 months. I'm a substitute. I've been in and out of Pierce's classroom, covering for other teachers, helping with special needs students. Grace's hands were shaking. What I've seen. Mr. Hayes, your daughter isn't the only one. Marcus felt his stomach drop. What do you mean? There was a boy named Marcus Jr., African-American kid, mild autism. He stopped speaking entirely after 2nd grade. His parents pulled him out mid-year. The official record says he transferred for educational reasons. The real reason is that Mrs. Pierce told him his brain didn't work right because of his skin color. Luna made a small sound. There was a girl named Sophie Chen, no relation to me. Learning disability. Mrs. Pierce made her stand at the board for an entire hour, trying to solve a problem she couldn't understand while the class laughed. Sophie started cutting herself. She was 9 years old. Jesus Christ. And there's Tyler Webb. He uses a wheelchair. Mrs. Pierce told him he was taking up too much space, that he was an inconvenience, that his parents probably wished he'd never been born. Grace's voice cracked. Tyler tried to jump out of his wheelchair at the top of the stairs last month. Said he wanted to prove he could walk. He wanted to prove he wasn't broken. Marcus couldn't speak. I reported it, Grace continued. Every single time I reported it. I filed complaints with Blackwell. I documented everything. And every single time the complaints disappeared. No record, no investigation, nothing. Why didn't you go to the police, the school board? Grace laughed a bitter, exhausted sound. You don't understand how this town works, Mr. Hayes. The Hartley family, the people whose kid calls your daughter broken, they've donated over $2 million to this district. Their daughter sits on the school board. The superintendent, Richard Dawson, goes golfing with James Hartley every Saturday. She leaned forward. Pierce isn't just protected. She's bulletproof. Anyone who challenges her disappears. Disappears? Career-wise. The last teacher who complained was a woman named Rebecca Martinez. 15 years of perfect evaluations. One complaint against Pierce, and suddenly she's under investigation for misconduct. She resigned before they could fire her. Moved out of state. Couldn't get a reference from anyone. Marcus absorbed this information. Luna sat very still on his lap, listening to every word. Miss Chen, Luna said quietly, why are you telling us this? Aren't you scared? Grace looked at the little girl. Something broke in her expression. Yes, sweetheart, I'm terrified. But today when I saw your daddy walk into that classroom, when I saw him kneel down and tell you that you did nothing wrong, she wiped her eyes. I've been watching this happen for 6 months. I've been too scared to do anything real. And I'm tired. I'm tired of being a coward. Marcus reached across the table and squeezed her hand. You're not a coward. You're here. That takes more courage than you know. What are you going to do? Grace asked. I'm going to burn it down. Marcus's voice was calm, certain. Every lie. Every cover-up. Every person who protected that woman while she tortured children. I'm going to expose all of it. They'll come after you. They have money connections. I've faced worse. Mr. Hayes, you don't understand. The Hartleys own half this town. The mayor owes them. The police chief owes them. The superintendent owes them. Then I'll go above them. State level, federal level, media, whatever it takes. Grace stared at him for a long moment. You're serious? My daughter told me that Mrs. Pierce said her mother drove into that car on purpose, that Sarah killed herself because she didn't want a broken child. Marcus's voice was steady, but his eyes were burning. There's nothing they can threaten me with that's worse than that. Nothing. Grace nodded slowly. I have documentation. Dates, times, incidents. I recorded audio on my phone during some of the worst episodes. It's not admissible in court, but it's admissible in the court of public opinion. Yes. Grace pulled a flash drive from her purse. Everything's on here. 6 months of records. Names, witnesses, quotes. It's not complete, but it's a start. Marcus took the drive like it was made of gold. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Grace stood up. They're going to find out I talked to you. When they do, they'll try to discredit me. They'll say I'm a disgruntled employee. They'll dig up anything they can find. Her phone buzzed. She looked at it. Her face went white. What is it? It's from Blackwell. Grace's voice was hollow. I've been placed on administrative leave, effective immediately, pending investigation into professional misconduct. That fast? They were watching the parking lot. They must have seen me get in my car and followed me here. Grace laughed, but there was no humor in it. I told you, anyone who challenges them disappears. Marcus stood up, lifting Luna with him. Then we make sure you don't disappear alone. The official response came 2 days later. Marcus was at his kitchen table reviewing Grace's documents when the certified letter arrived. He signed for it, opened it, and felt his blood pressure spike. From the office of the Superintendent, Millbrook School District. Reconcerns regarding Mr. Marcus Hayes. Dear Mr. Hayes, following your disruptive behavior at Millbrook Elementary on date, we have conducted a preliminary review of the incident. After interviewing staff and reviewing security footage, we have determined that 1. No evidence exists to support allegations of misconduct against Mrs. Sharon Pierce. 2. Your behavior was aggressive and intimidating to staff and students. 3. Your daughter Luna has a documented history of behavioral issues that may have contributed to any perceived tension in the classroom. We recommend family counseling and suggest that Luna would benefit from placement in a specialized educational environment better suited to her unique needs. Additionally, we have received reports that your service animal may pose a safety risk. While we respect your service to our country, we must prioritize the safety of our students and staff. Sincerely, Richard Dawson, Superintendent, Millbrook School District. Marcus read it twice. Then he laughed. Daddy, Luna looked up from her homework. What's funny? Nothing, baby. Just some adults trying to pretend they're smart. His phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Hayes, this is Victoria Blackwell. I got your letter. Good. Then you understand the situation. Blackwell's voice was smooth, confident. Mr. Hayes, I want to be reasonable about this. You're clearly a devoted father, but you're also struggling. Your wife's death, your injuries, the stress of raising a disabled child alone. Don't. Excuse me. Don't try to make this about my mental state. I know what I saw. I know what my daughter endured. And I know what you're trying to do right now. What I'm trying to do is resolve this situation before it escalates. It already escalated. The moment your teacher flicked my daughter's prosthetic leg and asked if it could feel anything, that was escalation. The moment she told a 9-year-old that her dead mother killed herself on purpose, that was escalation. Silence on the other end. Mr. Hayes, those are serious accusations. They're not accusations. They're facts. And I have witnesses. A handful of children who are easily confused. A substitute teacher who's been placed on leave for misconduct. Is that really the hill you want to die on? Marcus felt something cold settle in his chest. Are you threatening me? I'm trying to help you. The Hartley family is very connected in this community. They've already expressed concern about your behavior, about your stability, about whether you're really the best guardian for a child with Luna's special needs. What does that mean? It means that if you continue this vendetta, there may be questions raised about Luna's welfare, about whether she's receiving appropriate care, about whether her home environment is safe. The threat hung in the air like poison. You're threatening to take my daughter. I'm warning you about possible consequences. The Hartleys have resources, lawyers, connections to child protective services if they decide you're a threat to your own child. Marcus hung up. His hands were shaking. Not from fear, from rage. He looked at Luna, who was watching him with worried eyes. "Daddy, what's wrong?" "Nothing, baby. Everything's going to be fine." But it wasn't fine. He knew that. Blackwell had just drawn a line in the sand, and she'd made it clear what was at stake. Not just his reputation, not just the truth. His daughter. They were willing to take his daughter. Marcus walked outside, Titan following at his heels. He needed air. He needed to think. His neighbor was sitting on his porch, an old man named Samuel Morrison. Retired. Kept to himself mostly. Marcus had waved to him a few times, but never really talked. "You look like a man with a problem," Morrison called out. "You could say that. Want to talk about it?" Marcus hesitated. Then something in the old man's eyes, something sharp, knowing, made him walk over. "I'm Marcus Hayes. I know who you are. Army Ranger. 2 tours. IED injury. Lost your wife 2 years ago. Raising your daughter alone." Morrison smiled at Marcus's surprise. "I pay attention. It's an old habit." "What did you do before you retired?" "Federal judge. 30 years on the bench." Morrison gestured to the empty chair beside him. "Sit down, son. Tell me what Blackwell said that's got you looking like you're about to invade a small country." Marcus sat. And then he told him everything. Judge Morrison listened without interrupting. His face remained neutral, but his eyes got harder and harder as the story went on. When Marcus finished, Morrison was quiet for a long moment. "The Hartley family," he finally said. "I know them. Old money, new arrogance. They think they own this town because in most ways that matter they do. Can they really take my daughter? Not easily, but they can make your life hell trying. CPS investigations, custody hearings, lawyers who bill $500 an hour, dragging things out for years." Morrison shook his head. "It's not about winning. It's about exhaustion. They'll try to wear you down until you give up." "I won't give up. I believe you." Morrison studied him. "But this isn't a fight you can win alone. You need allies, documentation, legal representation, and you need to take this somewhere they can't control." "Where?" "Federal court. File a civil rights complaint under Section 1983. Pierce violated your daughter's rights under the Americans with Disabilities Act. The school systematically covered it up. That's not just misconduct, it's a federal issue." Marcus stared at him. "Can you help me?" "I'm retired." "That's not what I asked." Morrison smiled a real smile, the first Marcus had seen from him. "I've spent 30 years watching the powerful abuse the powerless and hide behind lawyers and money. I've watched them buy their way out of consequences. I've watched them destroy anyone who challenged them." The old man leaned forward. "I'm 78 years old. I've got nothing left to lose, and I've been waiting a very long time for a fight worth having." He stood up, extending his hand, ending. "Let's take these bastards down." The investigation began immediately. Morrison made calls to former colleagues, attorneys, investigators, journalists who owed him favors. Within 48 hours, Marcus had a legal team working pro bono. Within a week, they'd filed complaints with the State Education Board, the Department of Justice, and the Office of Civil Rights. But the Hartleys weren't idle. 3 days after Morrison joined the fight, Marcus answered his door to find 2 police officers standing on his porch. "Mr. Marcus Hayes." "Yes." "We've received a complaint from Child Protective Services. We need to conduct a welfare check on your daughter, Luna." Marcus's blood ran cold. "On what grounds? Concerns about the home environment, allegations of neglect, questions about whether the child is receiving appropriate medical care. That's insane. Luna sees a doctor every month, a physical therapist twice a week, a counselor. Sir, we just need to see the child. Make sure she's safe." Luna appeared behind Marcus Titan at her side. "Daddy, what's happening?" One of the officers looked at her prosthetic leg, at her well-brushed hair, at her clean clothes and healthy color, and Marcus saw something flicker in his eyes. Doubt. "Ma'am," the officer said gently, kneeling down to Luna's level. "Can you tell me your name?" "Luna Marie Hayes." "And how are you feeling today, Luna?" "Scared. You're scaring my daddy." The officer glanced back at his partner. "Miss Luna, does your daddy take good care of you?" "He's the best daddy in the whole world." Luna's chin came up defiant. "He makes me breakfast every day. He helps me with my physical therapy. He reads to me every night. And he saved me from the bad teacher who was mean to me." The officer stood up slowly. "Mr. Hayes, I apologize for the intrusion. This looks like a healthy home. I'm going to note that in my report." "Who filed the complaint?" "I can't disclose that information." "It was the Hartleys, wasn't it, or Blackwell?" The officer's expression told Marcus everything he needed to know. "I'm sorry, sir. We're just following procedure. Have a good day." They left. Marcus stood in the doorway, shaking with fury until Luna tugged on his hand. "Daddy, am I going to have to leave you?" He knelt down, taking her face in his hands. "Never. Do you hear me? Never. No one is going to take you from me. No one. Promise. I promise. On my life." Luna threw her arms around his neck. "I love you, Daddy." "I love you too, baby girl. More than anything in this world." Over her shoulder, Marcus saw Titan watching them. The dog's eyes were steady, calm, a silent reminder that they weren't alone. They had each other, and they had allies who were willing to fight. The next morning, Mike Reeves called. Reeves was a journalist for the regional paper, a reporter Morrison had connected Marcus with. He'd been investigating irregularities in the Millbrook School District for months, missing funds, suspicious contracts, complaints that vanished from official records. "Mr. Hayes, I've found something." "What?" "Sharon Pierce has had 7 complaints filed against her in 18 years. Every single one was dismissed within 48 hours. No investigation, no documentation, just gone." "That's not possible. There have to be records." "There should be. But they've been deleted. Wiped from the system." Reeves's voice was tight with excitement. "Here's the thing, the IT director for the district is married to James Hartley's niece. Every time a complaint was filed against Pierce, he had access to the system." "Can you prove it?" "Not yet, but I'm close. I have a source inside the district office who's willing to talk. If I can get them to go on record, how long? A week, maybe 2. But Mr. Hayes, once this story breaks, it's going to be big. Not just Pierce, not just Blackwell. The whole system that protected them." Reeves paused. "Are you ready for that?" Marcus looked at Luna, who was playing with Titan in the living room. The dog was being gentle with her, letting her win their tug-of-war, making her laugh. "I've been ready since the day I walked into that classroom." "Then hold tight. The cavalry is coming." Marcus hung up. For the first time since this nightmare began, He felt something like hope. But hope is a dangerous thing, because the Hartleys weren't finished, and their next move would nearly destroy everything. The attack came on a Thursday morning. Marcus was making Luna breakfast when his phone exploded with notifications, text messages, voicemails, email alerts, all flooding in at once. He grabbed the phone. The first notification was from Mike Reeves. "Turn on the news, now. I'm so sorry." Marcus switched on the television. His own face stared back at him. The headline scrolling across the bottom of the screen read, "Troubled veteran accused of threatening school staff child welfare concerns raised." The anchor was speaking in that carefully neutral tone they use when delivering character assassination. Sources within the Millbrook School District describe Marcus Hayes as aggressive, unstable, and possibly suffering from untreated PTSD. Officials say he stormed into an elementary school classroom last week, terrifying children and making threats against longtime educator Sharon Pierce. Luna came into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes. "Daddy, why are you on TV?" Marcus muted the television. His hands were shaking. His phone rang. Judge Morrison. "I'm watching it," Morrison said before Marcus could speak. "Don't say anything to anyone. Don't answer your door. I'm on my way." "How did they—" "The Hartleys own stock in 3 local news stations. They've been sitting on this waiting for the right moment to release it." Morrison's voice was grim. "This is their counterstrike. They're trying to destroy your credibility before our case goes public." "What do I do?" "You hold the line. This isn't over, not by a long shot." Morrison hung up. The doorbell rang. Marcus looked through the peephole. 2 men in suits. One held a badge. "Mr. Hayes, FBI. We need to speak with you." Marcus opened the door slowly, keeping Titan at his side. The lead agent, a black man in his 40s with tired eyes, held up his credentials. "I'm Agent Thomas Walker. This is Agent Martinez. May we come in? Am I under arrest?" "No, sir. We're here about your complaint against the Millbrook School District." Walker's expression was unreadable. "We've been investigating this district for 8 months. Your case just became very relevant to our work." Marcus stepped aside. The agents entered, both of them noting Titan's presence without comment. Walker sat at the kitchen table, while Martinez remained standing near the door. "Mr. Hayes, what I'm about to tell you is confidential." Walker placed a folder on the table. "The Millbrook School District has been under federal investigation for financial irregularities, civil rights violations, and systematic cover-up of employee misconduct. Your complaint against Sharon Pierce isn't isolated. It's part of a pattern." "How many others?" 17 documented cases over the past decade, all involving children with disabilities, all buried by the administration. Walker opened the folder. "We've been building a case, but we've had trouble getting witnesses to cooperate. People are scared. The Hartley family has made it very clear what happens to anyone who talks. Grace Chen talked to me. They fired her the same day." "We know. We've been in contact with Ms. Chen. She's agreed to testify." Walker met Marcus's eyes. "We need you to do the same." "I was already planning to." "I know. But the situation has changed." Walker pulled out a document. "This morning, the Hartleys filed an emergency motion for temporary custody of your daughter. They're claiming you're mentally unstable and that Luna is in danger." The world tilted. "They can't do that." "They can try. They have a judge in their pocket, Raymond Wheeler, family court. He owes the Hartleys his seat on the bench." Walker's jaw tightened. "The hearing is scheduled for tomorrow morning." "Tomorrow, that's not enough time to—" "It's not supposed to be. That's the point." Walker leaned forward. "Mr. Hayes, I'm going to be honest with you. If this goes before Wheeler, you'll lose. He'll grant emergency custody to the state, and the Hartleys will position themselves as concerned citizens willing to provide foster care for a disabled child whose father can't cope. Marcus felt like he was drowning. What are my options? We get the case transferred to federal court. The civil rights violations give us jurisdiction, but I need something first, something that proves the school's cover-up beyond any doubt. I have Grace Chen's documentation, audio recordings. That's helpful, but it's not enough. We need someone from inside the administration to flip, someone who was part of the cover-up and is willing to testify. Walker closed the folder. Do you know anyone who might be willing to talk? Marcus thought about Blackwell, about her smooth voice on the phone, her threats, her confidence that she was untouchable. Then he thought about something else. The IT director, Marcus said slowly. Mike Reeves, the journalist, said he's married to James Hartley's niece. He's the one who deleted the complaint records. We know about him, Kevin Marsh. He's refused to cooperate. What if I could get him to change his mind? Walker studied him. How? Let me worry about that. The agents exchanged glances. Mr. Hayes, I can't sanction anything illegal. I'm not going to do anything illegal. I'm just going to remind someone what it feels like to have a conscience. Walker was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. You have until tomorrow morning. After that, the hearing happens with or without evidence. The agents left. Marcus stood in his kitchen, his mind racing. 24 hours. He had 24 hours to find a way to save his daughter. Titan pressed against his leg. Luna appeared in the doorway, her face pale. Daddy, are they going to take me away? Marcus knelt down and pulled her into his arms. No, baby. No one is taking you anywhere. I promise. But the TV said, the TV is lying. People are telling lies about Daddy because they don't want the truth to come out. What truth? The truth about what Mrs. Pierce did to you. The truth about all the people who helped her hide it. Marcus held her at arm's length, looking into her eyes. Luna, I need you to be brave for a little while longer. Can you do that? Luna's chin came up, the same way Sarah's used to when she faced something hard. I can be brave, Daddy. That's my girl. Marcus called Judge Morrison and explained the situation. Kevin Marsh? Morrison said thoughtfully. I know him. He's a follower, not a leader. He did what the Hartleys told him because he was scared of losing his job, his marriage, his place in the community. Can we flip him? Maybe, but not with threats. Men like Kevin respond to one thing, seeing that the ship is sinking and scrambling to be the first one on the lifeboat. How do we make him see that? We show him that the FBI is involved. We show him that his name is on documents. We show him that if he doesn't cooperate, he'll go down with everyone else. Morrison paused. I can arrange a meeting, tonight. But Marcus, you need to be careful. If Marsh reports back to the Hartleys, they'll accelerate their timeline. I understand. Do you? Because if this goes wrong, you could lose Luna permanently. Marcus looked at his daughter, who was sitting on the couch with Titan stroking the dog's fur. I'm not going to lose her. Not today. Not ever. The meeting happened at 9 p.m. in Morrison's study. Kevin Marsh was younger than Marcus expected, mid-30s, soft around the edges with the nervous energy of a man who knew he was in trouble. He kept checking his phone, kept glancing toward the door. I shouldn't be here, Marsh said. If James finds out. James Hartley is going to prison, Morrison said calmly, along with Blackwell Dawson and everyone else who helped cover up what Sharon Pierce did to those children. Marsh's face went gray. You don't know that. The Hartleys have lawyers. The FBI has been investigating this district for 8 months. Marcus leaned forward. They have documents, financial records, evidence of witness tampering, and they have your name on the server logs every time a complaint against Pierce was deleted. I was just following orders? That's not going to help you in federal court. Morrison's voice was ice. Conspiracy to violate civil rights, obstruction of justice, computer fraud. You're looking at 10 to 15 years, Mr. Marsh. Marsh was sweating now. What do you want from me? The truth. Marcus pulled out his phone, showing Marsh the audio files Grace Chen had recorded. We have evidence of what Pierce did. We have witnesses. What we need is proof that the administration knew and covered it up. If I talk, they'll destroy me. If you don't talk, the FBI will destroy you. Morrison leaned forward. Kevin, I've spent 30 years watching men like you make this choice. The ones who flip first, they get deals. The ones who stay loyal to sinking ships, they drown. Marsh's hands were shaking. My wife is a Hartley. If I betray the family... Your wife is married to a man who helped cover up the abuse of disabled children. Marcus's voice was soft but relentless. What do you think happens to your marriage when that comes out? What do you think happens to your reputation, your career, everything you've built? I can't. You have a daughter, don't you? Marcus didn't blink. She's 6 years old, first grade. I saw her picture in your office when I visited the school. Marsh went still. What if it was her? Marcus continued. What if some teacher called her broken, made her classmates laugh at her, told her that her mother wished she'd never been born? He let the words sink in. Would you want someone to stand up for her, or would you want them to delete the records and pretend it never happened? Marsh stared at him. My daughter Luna lost her leg in the accident that killed her mother, Marcus said. She spent 18 months learning to walk again. She's the bravest person I know. And Sharon Pierce spent months telling her she was worthless, that she was broken, that her mother died on purpose because she didn't want a disabled child. Marsh flinched. Luna is 9 years old. She has nightmares every night. She asks me if she's too much trouble. She asks me if I'd be happier if she wasn't around. Marcus's voice cracked. A child. A 9-year-old child. And you helped hide what was done to her. Marsh looked at the floor. I didn't know it was that bad, he whispered. They told me it was just complaints from difficult parents. They said Pierce was being targeted unfairly. You knew. Marcus's voice was cold. You saw those complaints. You read what parents wrote about their children crying every night. You read about kids who stopped talking, kids who hurt themselves, and you deleted it anyway. I was scared. So was my daughter. Every day she walked into that classroom. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Marsh looked up. His eyes were wet. What do you need? Morrison slid a document across the table. Everything. Emails, memos, internal communications. Every instruction you received to delete records. Every conversation about Pierce's behavior. He tapped the paper. And a signed statement admitting your role in the cover-up. Marsh stared at the document for a long moment. Then he picked up the pen. I have backups, he said quietly. Everything they told me to delete. I kept copies. I didn't know why. Maybe I knew this day would come. He signed the statement. I'll give you all of it. Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. Thank you. Marsh looked at him with hollow eyes. Don't thank me. I helped hurt your daughter. I helped hurt all of them. I don't deserve thanks. No, Marcus agreed. But you're doing the right thing now. That counts for something. He stood up to leave. Mr. Hayes. Marsh's voice stopped him at the door. I'm sorry. I know it doesn't mean anything, but I'm sorry. Marcus didn't turn around. Tell it to the children. The evidence Kevin Marsh provided was devastating. Emails from Superintendent Dawson instructing administrators to handle complaints about Pierce quietly. Memos from Blackwell detailing how to discourage parents from escalating concerns. Financial records showing payments to families who agreed to keep silent about incidents. And at the center of it all, the Hartley family. James Hartley had personally intervened in 3 cases where parents threatened to go public. He'd made the problems disappear with money, with threats with the weight of his influence in the community. Agent Walker took the evidence at 6 a.m. By 8 a.m., he was on the phone with the U.S. Attorney. "Emergency hearing postponed," Walker told Marcus. "Federal jurisdiction confirmed. We're filing charges today." "Against who?" "Everyone. Pierce, Blackwell, Dawson, Hartley, the whole network." Walker's voice carried something that sounded almost like satisfaction. "Mr. Hayes, this is the biggest civil rights case in this state in 20 years, and it's happening because you wouldn't back down." Marcus sat down heavily. "It's not over yet." "No. There'll be trials, hearings, appeals. The Hartleys will fight with everything they have." Walker paused. "But they're going to lose. I've seen the evidence. There's no burying this one." Marcus hung up. Luna was standing in the doorway, Titan at her side. "Daddy, did we win?" Marcus pulled her into his arms. "Not yet, baby, but we're winning." The arrests happened 2 days later. Marcus watched from his living room as the news showed Sharon Pierce being led out of her home in handcuffs. She was crying real tears, ugly tears, her face twisted with shock and fury. "I'm innocent," she screamed at the cameras. "This is a witch hunt I've been teaching for 18 years. Luna stood beside him, watching silently. "Daddy, is she going to prison?" "Maybe. That's for the courts to decide." "Good." Luna's voice was hard. "She should go to prison. She's a bad person." Marcus looked down at his daughter. Something had changed in her over the past weeks. The victim was becoming a survivor. The silence was becoming strength. "Luna, do you know why we're fighting this? Not just for you, but for all the other kids she hurt. Because it's right. Because it's right." Marcus knelt down. "And I need you to understand something. Even when this is over, even when they're punished, it won't make what happened unhappen. You'll still have bad days. You'll still have bad memories." "I know. But you're not broken. You never were. What she did to you, what she told you about yourself, those were lies. Every single one." Luna's eyes filled with tears. Sometimes I still hear her voice in my head, telling me I'm too slow, telling me I'm too much trouble. "I know, baby. I hear voices too. From the war, from the accident." Marcus touched her face. "They get quieter over time. They never go away completely, but they get quieter." "How do you make them quiet? You fill your head with other voices. Good voices. People who love you. People who tell you the truth. Like you. Like me, and Titan, and Judge Morrison, and Miss Chen, and all the other people who believe in you." Luna threw her arms around his neck. "I love you, Daddy." "I love you too, baby girl. More than anything in this world." Titan pressed against them both, and for a moment, just a moment, Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in 2 years. Peace. But the fight wasn't over, because Sharon Pierce was about to make one final desperate move. And when she did, everything would change. The confrontation happened at the pre-trial hearing. Marcus hadn't wanted to bring Luna, but the prosecutor insisted. "The defense is going to argue that your daughter was exaggerating, that she's been coached. The judge needs to see her to understand who we're fighting for." So Luna sat in the front row, Titan beside her, as an emotional support animal, while lawyers argued about evidence and jurisdiction and procedural matters. Pierce was there, seated at the defense table. She'd aged 10 years in 2 weeks. Her face was gaunt, her eyes hollow. But when she looked at Luna, something ugly flickered in her expression. The hearing was almost over when it happened. Grace Chen was called to verify her recordings. She walked to the front of the courtroom, past the defense table. Her head held high, despite her obvious fear. Pierce stood up. "You lying little..." Before anyone could react, Pierce lunged. She moved faster than a woman her age should have been able to move, years of frustrated rage channeled into a single violent moment. Her hands reached for Grace's throat, but she never got there. Titan was already moving. The German Shepherd launched himself from Luna's side, covering the distance in a heartbeat. He didn't attack. Marcus had trained him better than that. He simply put himself between Pierce and Grace, 70 pounds of muscle and loyalty and protection. Pierce stumbled backward, tripping over her own chair, crashing to the floor. Titan stood over her, not biting, not growling, just blocking. His amber eyes fixed on her face with an intensity that said, "Move again, I dare you." The courtroom erupted. Bailiffs rushed forward. Lawyers shouted. The judge banged his gavel again and again. But Marcus only had eyes for his daughter. Luna was standing, her small hands clenched into fists, her face white. She was staring at Pierce on the floor, at the woman who had tormented her for months now, cowering beneath a dog's silent judgment. "She can't hurt you anymore," Marcus said, moving to her side. "It's over." Luna looked up at him. "I'm not scared of her, Daddy." "I know. I was scared for so long, but I'm not anymore." Luna's voice was steady. "She's just a mean old woman, and mean people always end up on the floor." Marcus felt tears burn his eyes. "Yeah, baby, they do." Pierce was dragged out of the courtroom, screaming about conspiracies and vengeance and how she'd been set up. The judge called a recess. Grace Chen sat in a corner shaking while the prosecutor tried to calm her down. But Marcus just held his daughter. And Titan returned to them both, his tail wagging his duty done. The dog had reacted instantly, just like he always did, because Titan understood what Marcus had learned a long time ago, that some battles aren't about winning. They're about protecting the people you love. And that was exactly what they'd done. The trial began 3 weeks after Pierce's courtroom outburst. Federal Court. Judge Margaret Chen, presiding, no relation to Grace, a woman with steel gray hair and eyes that had seen 40 years of injustice and developed zero tolerance for it. She'd reviewed the evidence, denied every motion to dismiss, and scheduled the proceedings with unusual speed. "This case involves the systematic abuse of children with disabilities," Judge Chen said at the opening. "We will not delay justice for procedural games." The Hartley family's lawyers had objected, appealed, and filed motions until their fingers bled. Nothing worked. The evidence Kevin Marsh provided had blown the case wide open, and now the defendants were scrambling. Sharon Pierce sat at one table with her public defender. The expensive lawyers had abandoned her when the FBI involvement became clear. Victoria Blackwell sat at another, her polished facade cracking more each day. Superintendent Richard Dawson had already taken a plea deal, agreeing to testify against the others in exchange for a reduced sentence. And James Hartley, the man who'd funded it all, who'd used his money and influence to protect a monster, sat alone, radiating fury. Marcus sat in the gallery with Luna beside him. Titan lay at their feet, a calm presence amid the chaos. "Are you scared, Daddy?" Luna whispered. "A little." "Me too." She squeezed his hand. "But Mommy always said being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do the right thing anyway." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "When did you get so smart? I learned from you." The prosecutor assistant U.S. Attorney Diana Reyes opened with the evidence: emails, memos, financial records, the audio recordings Grace Chen had made. One by one, she dismantled the defense's claims of innocence, of misunderstanding, of overzealous prosecution. This wasn't a single teacher having a bad day, Reyes told the jury. This was an organized conspiracy to abuse vulnerable children and silence anyone who tried to stop it. For over a decade, disabled students in Millbrook were systematically humiliated, tormented, and traumatized, and the adults who should have protected them chose to protect themselves instead. The first witness was Dr. Rebecca Torres, the child psychologist who had evaluated Luna and 3 other victims. Luna Hayes presented with classic symptoms of complex trauma, Dr. Torres testified. Anxiety, depression, nightmares, hypervigilance. She'd developed a belief that she was inherently defective, that her disability made her less valuable as a person. And in your professional opinion, what caused these symptoms? Sustained psychological abuse. Luna described being mocked, isolated, and publicly humiliated on a regular basis. She was told that her mother had died because she didn't want a disabled child. She was told that she was broken, worthless, a burden, Dr. Torres's voice wavered. She was 9 years old. The defense cross-examined aggressively, trying to suggest that Luna's trauma came from the car accident, from losing her mother, from anything except Pierce's abuse. Dr. Torres didn't flinch. The accident was traumatic, yes, but Luna was recovering. She was making progress. And then she started school in Millbrook and everything changed. She looked directly at Pierce. The abuse she experienced in that classroom took a child who was healing and broke her all over again. Pierce's attorney tried to object. Judge Chen overruled. The second day brought Grace Chen to the stand. She walked in looking different than Marcus remembered, stronger, more certain. The frightened substitute teacher who'd met him in a coffee shop had transformed into something else. A survivor. A fighter. Ms. Chen, can you describe what you witnessed in Mrs. Pierce's classroom? Grace took a breath. I saw a teacher who had learned exactly how to hurt children without leaving marks. She knew which kids couldn't defend themselves. She knew which families didn't have resources to fight back. And she targeted them systematically. Can you give specific examples? I watched her make Luna Hayes stand at the front of the room while she asked the class to explain why disabled people were burdens on society. I watched her flick Luna's prosthetic leg with a ruler and ask if it could feel anything. I watched her tell a boy with autism that his brain didn't work because of his skin color. Grace's voice hardened. I watched her reduce children to tears day after day, month after month, while the administration did nothing. Why didn't you report it sooner? I did report it. I filed complaints with Principal Blackwell. Every single one disappeared. Grace looked at the jury. I was told that if I kept making trouble, I'd never work in education again. I was told that the Hartley family didn't appreciate people who rocked the boat. And what made you finally decide to come forward? Grace was quiet for a moment. Then she looked at Marcus. I saw a father walk into that classroom and tell his daughter that she'd done nothing wrong. I saw him kneel down in front of her and wipe her tears. And I realized that I'd been watching children suffer for 6 months because I was afraid of losing my job. Her voice cracked. Luna Hayes lost her mother. She lost her leg. And then she lost her faith in adults because adults like me were too cowardly to protect her. The courtroom was absolutely silent. I couldn't live with that anymore, Grace finished. I couldn't be that person anymore. Pierce's lawyer declined to cross-examine. On the third day, Kevin Marsh testified about the cover-up. He described the emails, the instructions, the systematic deletion of records. He named names. He produced documents. And he apologized publicly, tearfully, for his role in hiding the truth. I told myself I was just following orders, Marsh said. I told myself it wasn't my responsibility, but every time I deleted a complaint I was helping hurt a child, and I have to live with that for the rest of my life. James Hartley's attorney tried to distance his client from Marsh's testimony, but the emails were damning. Direct instructions, explicit threats, a clear chain of command that led straight to the Hartley family. The fourth day brought the moment Marcus had been dreading. Luna's testimony. He'd tried to spare her. He'd argued with the prosecutor, with Morrison, with everyone who would listen. His daughter had been through enough. She shouldn't have to relive it in front of strangers. But Luna had insisted. I want to tell them, Daddy, she'd said the night before. I want them to hear it from me. I want Mrs. Pierce to look at me while I tell the truth about what she did. So Marcus sat in the gallery, Titan pressed against his leg, and watched his 9-year-old daughter take the stand. She looked impossibly small in the witness chair. Her prosthetic leg was visible beneath her dress. She'd refused to wear pants, refused to hide. I'm not ashamed of my leg, she'd told Marcus. Mrs. Pierce wanted me to be ashamed. I'm not going to give her what she wanted. Prosecutor Reyes approached gently. Luna, can you tell the court how you felt on your first day in Mrs. Pierce's class? Scared, Luna said. Her voice was soft but steady. I was new. I didn't know anyone, and I was worried about my leg that kids would make fun of me. And did they? Not at first. Some kids were curious. They asked questions, but they weren't mean about it. Luna paused. Mrs. Pierce was the one who taught them to be mean. What do you mean? The first week she made me stand in front of the class and explain why I had a fake leg. She said it was so everyone could understand my special needs. But then she started asking questions like, does it hurt when you walk? And can you feel anything? And when I answered, she would look at the other kids and make faces, like I was saying something funny. And the other children noticed. They started laughing. Dylan Hartley was the worst. He would call me Robot Girl and the broken one. But Mrs. Pierce never stopped him. Sometimes she laughed too. Marcus's hands were clenched so tight his knuckles were white. Luna, can you tell the court about the incident your father witnessed? Luna nodded slowly. Mrs. Pierce made me stand at the front of the room. She asked the class why I was slowing everyone down. Dylan said it was because I was broken, and Mrs. Pierce said that was exactly right. Luna's voice trembled slightly. Then she hit my leg with her ruler, my prosthetic leg. She asked if the thing could feel anything. How did that make you feel? Like I wasn't a person. Like I was just a thing that was broken and couldn't be fixed. Tears started rolling down Luna's cheeks, but she didn't wipe them away. And the kids laughed. They all laughed, and I wanted to disappear. I wanted to die. A gasp rippled through the courtroom. Luna, Reyes said gently. I need to ask you about something very difficult. Did Mrs. Pierce ever say anything about your mother? Luna's whole body tensed. Yes. Can you tell the court what she said? Luna looked at Pierce for the first time since taking the stand. The teacher was staring at the table, refusing to meet her eyes. She said my mommy died on purpose. Luna's voice was barely a whisper. She said my mommy drove into that car because she didn't want to take care of a broken little girl. She said my mommy was in heaven being happy that she didn't have to deal with me anymore. The courtroom went absolutely still. When did she say this to you? After I fell at recess. My leg came loose and I fell, and she said it in front of everyone. Luna was crying openly now. And I believed her. For a long time I believed her. I thought my mommy died because of me. Marcus stood up. He didn't plan it, didn't think about it. His body just moved, crossing the distance to the witness stand, wrapping his arms around his daughter while she sobbed. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry, baby. It's not true. None of it is true. I know, Daddy. I know now. Luna clung to him. But she made me believe it. She made me think Mommy hated me. The judge didn't intervene. The prosecutor didn't object. Even the defense attorney sat in stunned silence. Finally, Judge Chen spoke. We'll take a 15-minute recess. Marcus carried Luna out of the courtroom, Titan following close behind. They found an empty conference room, and he held her while she cried out months of pain and fear and shame. You are the best thing your mother ever did, Marcus said fiercely. She loved you more than anything in this world. And her last words, her very last words, were about you. She said, take care of our baby. Not because she wanted to get away from you, because you were the most precious thing she had. Really, really. Marcus pulled back, looking into her tear-stained face. Your mommy fought to live. She fought so hard, but she couldn't win that fight. And if she could see you now, how brave you are, how strong you are, she would be so proud. I miss her. I know, baby. I miss her too. Luna wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Can we go back in? I want to finish. You don't have to. I want to. Luna's jaw set with determination. Mrs. Pierce needs to see that she didn't break me. She tried, but she didn't. I'm still here, and I'm not scared of her anymore. They returned to the courtroom. Luna retook the stand, her face still wet with tears, but her voice stronger than before. Is there anything else you want to tell the court? Reyes asked. Luna looked at Pierce again. This time the teacher met her eyes. You told me I was broken, Luna said. You told me I was a burden. You told me my mommy killed herself because of me. She took a deep breath. But you were wrong. I'm not broken. My leg is different, but that doesn't make me broken. And my mommy didn't die because of me. She died because a drunk driver made a terrible choice. That's not my fault. That was never my fault. Pierce's face crumpled. I used to have nightmares about you, Luna continued. I used to hear your voice in my head telling me I was worthless, but I don't hear it anymore. You know what I hear now? I hear my daddy telling me I'm brave. I hear my mommy in my memories telling me she loves me. I hear Miss Chen and Judge Morrison and all the people who believe in me. She stood up in the witness chair, a small girl with a prosthetic leg and more courage than most adults would ever possess. You tried to make me hate myself. You tried to make me think I didn't deserve to be alive. But you failed. Luna's voice rang through the silent courtroom. I'm 9 years old and I'm stronger than you. And you're going to prison. And I'm going to grow up and help other kids who get hurt by people like you. Because that's what my mommy would want. That's what my daddy is teaching me. And that's who I am. She sat back down. No one moved. Then slowly someone in the gallery started to clap, then another, and another, until the entire courtroom was applauding spectators, reporters, even some of the jurors who quickly caught themselves and stopped. Judge Chen didn't bang her gavel to stop it. She let it go on for almost a minute before finally calling for order. The witness may step down, she said, and then softer. Young lady, you have shown this court what true strength looks like. Thank you. Luna walked back to her father. Marcus pulled her into his arms, tears streaming down his face. I'm so proud of you, he whispered. So proud. I did it, Daddy. I told the truth. You did more than that, baby. You showed them who you really are. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sharon Pierce, guilty of civil rights violations, child abuse, and conspiracy. Sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. Victoria Blackwell, guilty of conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and civil rights violations. Sentenced to 5 years. James Hartley, guilty of conspiracy, witness, tampering, and bribery. Sentenced to 12 years. The others who'd participated in the cover-up received lesser sentences, but they all went down. Every single one of them. Marcus stood on the courthouse steps after the verdict, Luna beside him, Titan sitting at attention between them. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. Mike Reeves pushed through the crowd. "Mr. Hayes, what do you want to say to people who are watching this story?" Marcus looked at Luna, at Titan, at Grace Chen, who was standing nearby with tears of relief streaming down her face, at Judge Morrison, who nodded once, a warrior acknowledging another. "I want to say that protecting children isn't political," Marcus said. "It's not about sides or agendas. Every child deserves to feel safe. Every child deserves adults who will stand up for them. And when the system fails, when the people who should protect children become the people who hurt them, ordinary people have to be willing to fight." "What about Luna? How is she doing?" Marcus put his arm around his daughter. "Luna is the bravest person I know. She faced her abuser in open court and told the truth even when it was terrifying. She's not a victim. She's a survivor." Luna looked up at her father, then at the cameras. "My mommy always said that being brave doesn't mean you're not scared," she said. "It means you do the right thing anyway. That's what I did. That's what my daddy did. And if anyone watching this is going through something like I went through, tell someone. Keep telling until someone believes you, because the truth always comes out, and the bad people always end up on the floor." The crowd murmured. Some people laughed. Some people cried. Marcus lifted Luna into his arms, and together they walked away from the courthouse, away from the cameras, away from the nightmare that had consumed their lives for months. But not away from the victory. Because this was a victory, hard-won, painful, but real. The system that had tried to destroy them had been destroyed instead. And they were still standing. As they reached the car, Luna tugged on Marcus's jacket. "Daddy, yeah, baby. Can we get ice cream?" Marcus laughed a real laugh, the first one in months. "Yeah, baby. We can get ice cream." Titan barked once, as if to approve. And for the first time since Sarah died, Marcus felt like, maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. 6 months changed everything. The Millbrook School District was restructured from the ground up. A new superintendent brought in from outside the state with no connections to anyone in town implemented sweeping reforms. Mandatory training on disability awareness. A student protection hotline that went directly to an independent oversight committee. Zero tolerance for staff misconduct. Grace Chen was hired full-time, promoted to the district's first inclusion coordinator. She'd gone from frightened substitute to fierce advocate, and every child with a disability in Millbrook now had someone in their corner who understood what they faced. Dr. Torres established a counseling program at the school, catching early signs of abuse before they could fester. Parents who'd been silenced for years finally had a safe place to report concerns, and the reports were investigated, documented, and acted upon. The families who'd suffered under Pierce's reign came forward one by one. Some wanted justice. Some wanted closure. All of them wanted to know they weren't alone. Marcus helped where he could. He spoke at school board meetings. He testified before a state legislative committee considering new protections for disabled students. He gave interviews that reached millions of people telling his story not for fame, but because every parent needed to know the signs of abuse, and every child needed to know that speaking up was worth it. But the real change happened in a much smaller place. It happened in a house on Maple Street, where a father and daughter were learning to live again. Luna's nightmares faded first. She'd had them every night for months, screaming herself awake, crying for her mother, asking Marcus if she was too much trouble. The therapist said it would take time. The therapist was right. But one night, about 3 months after the trial, Luna slept straight through until morning. Marcus found her in the kitchen, making cereal for herself. Titan sitting patiently beside her, waiting for a dropped piece of food. You slept, Marcus said. Luna nodded, milk dribbling down her chin. I dreamed about Mommy. Marcus felt his heart clench. What did you dream? She was watching me run. I was running really fast and she was clapping. Luna's face glowed with the memory. She was so proud of me, Daddy. I could feel it. That wasn't just a dream, baby. She is proud of you. Wherever she is, she's watching you, and she's so, so proud. Do you think she knows about the trial? About what we did? I think she knows everything. Luna set down her spoon and walked over to her father, wrapping her arms around his waist. I miss her. I know. I miss her too. But it doesn't hurt as much anymore. Is that okay? Is it okay that it doesn't hurt as much? Marcus knelt down, looking into her eyes. That's not just okay, Luna. That's healing. That's what happens when you start to get better. The hurt doesn't go away completely, it never does. But it makes room for other things, good things, happy memories instead of sad ones. Like the dream. Like the dream. Luna smiled a real smile, the kind that reached her eyes. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, baby girl, more than anything in this world. The running started a week later. Luna had been doing physical therapy for months, building strength in her residual limb, learning to trust her prosthetic. But she'd never tried to run. The fear was too great. Fear of falling, fear of failing, fear of proving that she really was broken. But something had shifted after the trial. After she'd stood in that courtroom and told the truth. After she'd looked at Sharon Pierce and said, "You failed," she wasn't afraid anymore. "Daddy, I want to try running." Marcus looked up from his coffee. Running. Dr. Torres said there's a running prosthetic I can get, a special one for sports. She said kids with legs like mine can run really fast with them. That's a big step, Luna. I know. Luna's chin came up. But I want to try. I want to be on a team. I want to run. Marcus felt his throat tighten. Then we'll make it happen. Getting the running prosthetic took 3 weeks. Insurance didn't want to cover it, said it was cosmetic, not medically necessary. Marcus made some calls. Mike Reeves wrote a follow-up story. The insurance company reversed their decision within 48 hours. The day the prosthetic arrived, Luna couldn't stop touching it. It was different from her everyday leg, curved and springy, designed to store energy and release it with each step. It looked alien. It looked incredible. Can I try it now? Luna asked. Let's wait for the physical therapist. Please, Daddy, just in the backyard, just to see. Marcus looked at her face, the hope, the excitement, the fragile courage. Okay, but I'm right beside you. They went outside. Titan bounded ahead, sensing something big was about to happen. Luna sat on the porch steps while Marcus helped her switch prosthetics. How does it feel? Weird. Luna flexed experimentally. Bouncy. That's the carbon fiber. It's supposed to feel like that. Luna stood up slowly. The running prosthetic was higher than her everyday leg, designed for the forward lean of a sprint. She wobbled for a moment, then found her balance. Okay, she breathed. Okay, I'm going to try. Take it slow. But Luna wasn't listening. She pushed off, and something magical happened. She ran. Not fast, not gracefully, not anything like the other kids at school. But she actually ran for the first time since the accident. Her arms pumped, her legs churned. The prosthetic bounced and sprang beneath her, propelling her forward. 10 steps, 20, 30. She stumbled, caught herself, kept going. Titan raced alongside her, barking joyfully, matching her pace like the partner he'd always been. Luna ran to the fence at the end of the yard, spun around, and ran back faster this time, more confident, Her face split into a grin so wide it looked like it might crack. She crashed into Marcus, both of them tumbling onto the grass, laughing so hard they could barely breathe. "I did it!" Luna shrieked. "Daddy, I did it! I ran! You ran, baby! You ran! I'm fast! I'm actually fast!" Marcus held her tight, tears streaming down his face. Not sad tears. Joy. Pure, overwhelming joy. "You're the fastest girl in the world," he whispered. "Not yet." Luna pulled back, her eyes blazing with determination. "But I will be. I'm going to practice every day. I'm going to get better. And one day I'm going to be in the Olympics." Marcus laughed. "The Olympics? They have the Paralympics for people like me. Dr. Torres told me about it. There are runners who are way faster than regular people, even with prosthetic legs." Luna's face was fierce. "I'm going to be one of them. I'm going to show everyone that being different doesn't mean being broken." In that moment, Marcus saw his wife. Not her face, not her features, but her spirit. The fire that had made Sarah who she was. The determination that had made her fight for everything she believed in. The courage that had made her hold on, even at the end, just long enough to say goodbye. Luna had inherited all of it. "Then that's exactly what you'll do," Marcus said. The track team started that fall. Luna joined the Millbrook Youth Athletics Program, a club for kids with disabilities who wanted to compete. There were 10 of them, ranging from 7 to 15 each, with their own challenges and their own dreams. The coach was a Paralympic bronze medalist named Derek Washington, a man who'd lost both legs below the knee in Afghanistan and gone on to compete at the highest levels of adaptive sports. "You're Luna Hayes," Derek said at their first meeting. "I saw your testimony on the news." Luna nodded, suddenly shy. "You've got guts, kid. Not everyone can stand up in a courtroom and tell the truth like that." Derek knelt down to her level. "Running's going to be hard. Harder than anything you've done before. There'll be days you want to quit. Days you fall down and don't want to get back up. I won't quit." "How do you know?" Luna looked at Marcus, then back at Derek. "Because my daddy taught me that falling down doesn't matter. What matters is getting back up," and Derek smiled. "Your daddy's a smart man." Training was brutal. Luna came home exhausted every night, muscles screaming, residual limb aching from the pressure of the prosthetic. Some days she cried from frustration. Some days she refused to talk about practice at all. But she never quit. She fell down 100 times, 200 more than Marcus could count. And every single time she got back up. "I'm slow," she complained one night lying on the couch with Titan's head on her lap. "Everyone else is faster than me." "You've only been running for 3 months. Derek says I have potential, but I don't feel like I have potential. I feel like I'm always last." Marcus sat down beside her. "Luna, do you remember what I told you about the Rangers? That it was hard, the hardest thing I ever did. When I started basic training, I was the worst in my platoon. I couldn't run as fast, couldn't do as many push-ups, couldn't keep up with guys who'd been athletes their whole lives." Marcus smiled at the memory. "I finished last in everything for the first 2 months. But you became a ranger. Because I didn't quit. Because I showed up every single day and gave everything I had even when it felt hopeless. And eventually I caught up. And then I passed them." He squeezed her hand. "You're not competing against those kids, Luna. You're competing against yourself. Against the girl who couldn't run at all 6 months ago. And compared to her, you're winning." Luna was quiet for a moment. "I'm going to make you proud, Daddy." "Baby, you already do. Every single day." The first race was in spring. Regional Junior Paralympics qualifying a 100-meter dash for girls ages 8-10. Luna was entered alongside 4 other runners, all of them more experienced, all of them with better times. Marcus stood at the finish line, Titan beside him, heart pounding harder than it had in any combat situation he'd ever faced. Luna took her mark at the starting line. She looked so small, so fragile, so impossibly brave. The gun fired. Luna exploded off the blocks, not perfectly, not like the other girls who'd been training for years, but with everything she had. Her arms pumped, her prosthetic bounced and sprang, her face twisted with effort. She was last out of the gate. Marcus held his breath. 20 meters, 30, 40. Luna was still last, but she was gaining. Her stride was evening out, finding rhythm. 50 meters, 60. She passed one girl who'd stumbled, past another who was fading. 70 meters, 80. Luna was in third place now, her face a mask of absolute determination. The crowd was screaming. Marcus was screaming. Even Titan was barking. 90 meters. Luna surged forward, giving everything she had left. She crossed the finish line in second place. Not first, but not last. Not broken. Not worthless. Not the burden Sharon Pierce had tried to make her believe she was. Second place. Luna collapsed on the track, gasping for air, tears streaming down her face. Marcus ran to her, scooping her up, spinning her around, while she laughed and cried at the same time. "I did it, Daddy." "Second place, I got second." "You were amazing. You were incredible. I almost won." "You did win, baby. You won the moment you decided to run." Derek Washington jogged over his face, split into a grin. "Hayes, that was one hell of a race. You shaved 4 seconds off your personal best." 4 seconds. "That's massive improvement. Keep training like this, and you'll be qualifying for nationals by next year." Luna's eyes went wide. "Nationals? That's what I said." Derek ruffled her hair. "You've got heart, kid. That's something you can't teach." They went for ice cream after the race, Marcus, Luna, and Titan sitting outside the shop, while the afternoon sun warmed their faces. Luna had her silver medal around her neck, refusing to take it off. "Daddy, yeah, baby, do you think Mommy saw me run?" Marcus looked up at the sky, clear blue scattered clouds, the kind of day Sarah had always loved. "I think she had the best seat in the house. I'm going to win gold next time, for her. She'd love that." Luna licked her ice cream, thoughtful. "Daddy, can I ask you something? Anything? Are you happy?" The question caught Marcus off guard. "What do you mean? You were so sad for so long. After Mommy died, after my leg. Even before the trial, you were sad all the time. You tried to hide it, but I could tell." Luna looked at him with those wise old eyes that children sometimes have. "Are you happy now?" Marcus thought about the question. Really thought about it. He thought about the accident, about holding Sarah's hand as she slipped away, about the months of darkness that followed when getting out of bed felt like climbing Everest. He thought about the day in the school when he'd seen Luna being humiliated. The rage, the helplessness, the desperate need to protect her. He thought about the trial, about Grace Chen and Judge Morrison and Kevin Marsh, about standing on those courthouse steps and telling the world that every child deserves protection. And he thought about Luna running, about her smile, about the life they'd built together from the ashes of the one they'd lost. "Yeah, baby," Marcus said. "I'm happy. Really, really. I still miss your mom. I'll miss her every day for the rest of my life. But I have you, and I have Titan, and I have a purpose helping other families who are going through what we went through." He took her hand. "That's what happiness looks like after tragedy. It's not forgetting the pain. It's making room for joy alongside it." Luna nodded slowly. "I think Mommy would be happy too." I think you're right. They sat in silence for a while, eating ice cream, watching the world go by. Daddy, yeah, thank you. For what? For fighting for me. For believing me when I was scared to tell the truth. For never giving up even when everything was hard. Luna's eyes were bright with tears. You're the best daddy in the whole world. Marcus pulled her close. You're the one who gave me something to fight for, Luna. Before that day at the school, I was lost. I was just going through the motions. But when I saw what they were doing to you, when I saw how brave you were being all alone, something woke up inside me. He kissed the top of her head. You didn't just survive what happened to you. You saved me, too. We saved each other. Yeah. Marcus smiled through his tears. We saved each other. 1 year later, Luna stood on the podium at the Junior National Paralympics. Gold medal around her neck. American flag behind her. Crowd on their feet cheering for the 9-year-old girl who had overcome everything, the accident, the abuse, the system that tried to silence her, and emerged stronger than anyone could have imagined. Marcus watched from the stands tighten beside him, tears streaming freely down his face. Beside him sat Grace Chen, now engaged to a good man she'd met at a teachers' conference. And Judge Morrison, 80 years old and still sharp as ever. And Mike Reeves, who'd just won a Pulitzer for his coverage of the Millbrook scandal. They'd become a family not by blood, but by choice. By the shared experience of fighting together, losing together, winning together. When Luna received her medal, she didn't look at the cameras. She didn't wave to the crowd. She looked at her father. And she mouthed 2 words. For Mommy. Marcus nodded, pressing his fist to his heart. For Sarah. For Luna. For every child who'd ever been told they were broken and had to find the courage to believe otherwise. Later that night, Luna fell asleep in the car on the way home. The gold medal still clutched in her hand, Titan curled protectively at her feet. Marcus drove in silence, the radio off the night, peaceful and still. He thought about the moment that had started everything, standing in that hallway, hearing laughter, seeing his daughter humiliated by the person who should have protected her. He'd frozen then. Just for a second. Just long enough for Titan to press against his leg and remind him what needed to be done. The dog had reacted instantly, and Marcus had followed. One moment of courage. One decision to stop watching and start fighting. One father who refused to let his daughter's spirit be broken by people who should have known better. That's all it had taken. One moment. One choice. Everything else had followed. Marcus looked in the rearview mirror at Luna's sleeping face, peaceful and content. She wasn't broken. She never had been. She was gold. And in the end, that was the only truth that mattered. Some people spend their whole lives waiting for heroes to save them. Marcus Hayes learned a different lesson. The real heroes don't wait for permission. They don't ask if it's safe. They see someone who needs protection, and they move. They react instantly. Just like Titan had. Just like Luna had. Just like Marcus finally did on that day in the hallway when he stopped watching and started fighting. Because that's what love does. It sees. It acts. It never, ever gives up. And that is exactly what they did.